Okay, everyone, welcome back from spring break. Moving on with Lab 11, Ecdysoans. So now we're looking at the protostomes. Got the Ecdysoas and the Lophotrochozoans. We looked at the Lophotrochozoans before. Now we're going to focus on the Ecdysozoa. So that's your nematodes, coniferanes, tardigrades, and arthropodas. They're going to be united by growth by molting, ecdysis, and several other apomorphies. Okay, so characteristics. They have a cuticular integument, just protection against injury and physiological stress. Basically, it's going to be, thicker skin. However, they have this thicker skin and it doesn't grow. And once they have it, it's a set size. So they have to go through ecdysis, which is this periodic shedding and molting in order to get bigger. The very base, doesn't share anything about any characteristics, are going to be the nematodes, right? So the nematoda, these are going to be roundworms, not to be confused with the annelids, which we looked at before. They move by contraction of longitudinal muscles. So I got this movement is side to side, also can be described as whip-like. Very often parasitic. And they have that cuticular integument, so they don't have a lot of, it's like trying to move if you're stuffed into a leathery case. All the rest of them, the apomorphies that they're going to share would be for the onychonophoreans, tardigrades, and the arthropods. Their apomorphies are going to be appendages for locomotion. Obviously, the roundworms didn't have those. They have a chitinous cuticle, and an open circulatory system, which means the heart pumps hemolymph that bathes the internal organs. So, what else have we looked at already this semester that has chitin? Well, fungus. The onychonophoreans and the tardigrades are two of the other groups that we'll be looking at for this. The onychonophoreans have this caterpillar-like body, hasn't changed much in 500 million years. There were fossils found, and it looks like a toddler was doodling and something came to life. When we first saw them, we didn't know which way was up, which way was down, but they're hard to find. We've got some video of them in the YouTube playlist for Lab 11. Tardigrades are super cool. If there was ever a candidate for something complex life that could travel through the depths of space and live on an asteroid and seed life on another planet, it would be these guys. They go through this process called cryptobiosis or dormancy, where when the living conditions aren't great, they just basically turn their bodies off and wait for conditions to get better. They were stuck on the outside of one of the space shuttle missions. They spent 10 days in the vacuum of space, brought back to Earth, and they were able to survive and lay eggs and everything was normal. They can survive massive doses of radiation that would kill people. They are really, really cool. So again, there will be some videos in the links on the YouTube channel. You definitely want to check out how awesome tardigrades are. And then we also have a video of the tardigrades that I shot in the lab for you guys. Arthropods, okay? If it's not a tardigrade, a roundworm, or the onychonophoreans, it's going to be the arthropodas. Right? This is the most diverse of animals on the earth. We're talking tens of thousands of named species, which means that there are millions that we don't know about. So what makes them special? They have these jointed appendages. Arthropod means jointed appendages. They have compound eyes. So they got these thousands of photoreceptor units. You compare that to, our eyes. We got one lens and all the stuff in the back. They've got thousands of these little individual photoreceptor units that allow them to see the world. Pretty cool. Their chitinous exoskeleton has been calcified, right? So they got additional protection. It's becomes a little more solid. It will vary in thickness and flexibility depending on what it is, but it's no longer just kind of leathery, tough skin like you would see on the onychonophoras or the nematodes or the tardigrades. It's now we're getting exoskeleton shells sort of stuff. The Chelicerata. All right, this is going to include your sea spiders, your horseshoe crabs, and your arachnids. Sea spiders, we'll talk about them in a second. So apomorphies for all of the Chelicerata. They're going to have two body parts, the cephalothorax and the abdomen. Cephalothorax, cephalohead, thorax, chest cavity. All right, so that's been fused into one solid unit. Their walking appendages have been reduced in number. Take note of that. The first pair of appendages is referred to as the chelicerate. Right? They use that for feeding. And the second pair are the pedipalps. And these are modified, depending on what species you're looking at, for sensory or food gathering or defensive mechanisms. One of the most primitive ones, it can be the merisomatas or the horseshoe crabs. Right? So they're referred to as living fossils. They haven't changed much in the last 500 million years. Living fossils is a misnomer, but they've kept evolving. But they look really close to what their fossil records look like. They have this long telson, which is a spine-like tail piece. It's not a tail, it's a telson. They have book gills, which are these leaf-like appendages used for locomotion and gas exchange. So that you can see those on the underside of the picture down here. Okay, so those are going to be going on there. Why do we care about them? Well, their blood makes this really cool thing called amoebocytes, which are very similar to our white blood cells, and their blood is blue. But they're currently milking these, they're draining the blue blood out of these horseshoe crabs for use of bacterial, and they detect bacterial endotoxins in medical applications. So we're still using these super primitive things because they can do it better than we can. The arachnids, everybody's favorite. 4 pairs of walking appendages, 8 legs. Everybody, spiders, 8 legs. But the arachnids also include spiders, scorpions, and ticks. They have booked lungs on the ventral surface of their abdomen. Their respiratory system includes trachea and spiracles. Spiders have abdominal spinnerets, and scorpions have a telson that has been modified into a stinger, and their pedipalps have been modified into pincers. So, what are sea spiders? Well, that is not a sea spider. Please don't confuse that. The sea spider, every once in a while, this internet image goes around. That is a prop from the movie Aliens. That is not what they look like. This is what they look like. All right. Granted, they're not usually this large. The ones we would have in the lab for you to look at if we were still out on campus is about the size of a quarter. Okay. They're found in Antarctic waters. They're found all over the place, but they're really, really cool. All right. Pycnogonias, sea spiders. The rest of the crustaceans, okay, so specifically the crustaceans, you're going to have a narpulus larval stage, stalked compound eyes, 2 pairs of antennae, and a carapace that covers the cephalothorax. Yeah. Within the crustaceans, you'll find another group of them referred to as the isopods. This is one of the only terrestrial, solidly terrestrial crustaceans that you'll find, commonly known as the roly-poly or the little pill bug, come in animated form as well. This is what their marine counterparts will look like. Marine isopods are a little scarier, a little larger, kind of cool. Isopods are oftentimes considered to be parasites. They can be free-living, but they can be a nuisance for fish parasites as well. One of the creepiest ones they can find is that they will crawl into the mouth of a fish, eat the tongue, and then replace the tongue, and they just take a permanent residence inside of the fish's mouth, eating whatever the fish eats. Since fish have no hands, they can't get rid of it. So that's a real picture, and that's what it looks like when it's taken up residence. Yay. To give you an idea of what I mean by incredibly elaborate visual systems, humans, we have 3 color receptors, right? So it gives us whatever field of vision that you have, right? But that's from 3 color receptors. Certain animals will have up to 5. So dogs, they have 2, right? We call them colorblind, but they're not truly colorblind. They can just have limited because they have 2 color receptors. Certain birds and butterflies will have up to 5 color receptors, so they can see things that we can't, like the UV spectrum. That's just what they normally will see in. The mantis shrimps, depending on your source, will have between 12 and 16 color receptors. So, like I said, one of the most elaborate visual systems on the planet. And they're packing weapons. They're really cool. Check out the videos in the YouTube channel for just how awesome these things are. Now, the hexapods, better known as insects, they are the most specious group of living organisms. There are millions of species out there. We've only named tens of thousands of them. They have lost all their abdominal appendages, so all of their appendages are going to be attached to their thorax. They have a 3-segmented thorax, 3 pairs of legs. Hexapoda. Hex, 6, poda, feet. They got 6 legs. Right? They have modified mouth parts, referred to as the labium, and some of them have the evolution of wings. Insect development can be broken into 2 general categories. You have complete and incomplete metamorphosis. Right? So you have the hemimetabolous development, so it goes eggs, nymphs, and adults, and you have holometabolous development, where it goes eggs, larvae, pupa, adults. The way you can differentiate this in your head, if you have an egg and whatever comes out of the egg, if it looks like a small version of the adult, hemimetabolous or incomplete development, compared to the holometabolous development. So you have eggs, and what comes out is a larva, which turns into the pupa, which turns into an adult, also called complete metamorphosis. Right? So if you think caterpillars, they look completely different from an adult butterfly. The larva of a beetle, a grub, does not look anything like the adult version. So it goes through a complete change from first stage to end stage. Whereas things like some of the beetles or praying mantis, if you've ever seen a praying mantis egg case hatch, when they come out, they're just little tiny praying mantises stomping out of there. They're just only, a centimeter tall. Incomplete. So hemi versus holo, different metabolist developmental stages. So a brief overview of the insect diversity that's out there. 6 groups that you're going to want to pay special attention to. You have the Odonatans, which are going to be your dragonflies and damselflies. The Orthopteras, which could be grasshoppers. Coleoptera, you have beetles. The Hymenoptera, it's going to be bees, wasps, and ants. The Dipteras can be flies, and the Lepidopteras are going to be your butterflies. So the Hymenoptera suborder there are going to be the Formicinthes, ants. They range in all sorts of sizes, from super tiny and annoying, those little Argentinian ants that you'll be seeing coming into your houses looking for water, up to bullet ants that can get to be, and you're looking at that correctly, 3 inches long. Yes. The Vespidae, suborder of the Hymenopteras again, the Japanese giant hornet. This is one of my favorites because it's just so cool. They are really that big. So they range in size from very tiny to very, very large. Monarch butterflies, right? I'm sure everyone's vaguely familiar with them. They're really beautiful, they're really cool looking. But what you may not know is they undergo one of the largest migrations in the animal kingdom. But what makes it super interesting is that a migration occurs over multiple life stages, meaning that the individual organisms that begin the migration will not finish it. It'll go up to 4 generations to do a complete migration. So the real question is, how do they know what they're supposed to do? If it's, parent starts out, their kids complete the migration to the north, and then have eggs, then their children start the migration south, and then their children will complete the migration. So it takes 4 generations, and it's not like they're leaving street signs along the way. How do they do that? I have no idea. Somebody might, but it's not me. But it's just really interesting to look at. In the United States, they're broken up into 2 major populations that go through this. So you can look into that, and they're just super, super interesting. As we move away from the hexapodas, we're going to move into the myriapodas, and as you can tell, they have much more than 6 legs. They have a myriad of legs, so they are myriapodas. Anyway, so they got simple eyes. They've lost those compound eyes. This is going to be the apomorphy that unites the myriapoda. When you're looking at the two main classes that we're going to be looking at, you have the chylopodins, better known as centipedes, and the diplopodins, which are millipedes. The way you will distinguish those two classes of organisms, you have the chylopodins have one pair of legs per segment, and they also have venomous fangs. The diplopodins, or your millipedes, they have these diplosegments, which is the fusion of body segments, and each segment has two pairs of organs and legs. So if you're looking at them up close, you see one pair of legs per segment, centipede, two pairs of legs per segment, millipedes. And centipedes are also venomous, right? Not poisonous. But you remember that is if you bite it and you get sick, it's poisonous, like bad food. But if it bites you and you get sick, it's venomous. Think centipedes or arachnids or snakes, right? Venomous versus poisonous. So centipedes are venomous. And they can get very, very, very large. Luckily, millipedes typically not predatory. Centipedes are, and they're kind of scary. And just for fun, here's a centipede eating a mouse. Awesome sauce.